I'm very happy to engage with you, although virtually, with my colleague Michael Wiener. We are both working in the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, related to the freedom of religion and its linkages to other human rights. My role today with Michael Wiener is to try to give you the background and overview of where this standard is coming from and what it does aspire to achieve and why it could be useful for you in your work. First and foremost, human rights and different religious traditions have been historically at trying to achieve the same purpose in different ways. They have always been going in parallel, and the moments where their trajectories met were not always happy moments. There has been tensions, and this is normal given many factors. So the main question and the main objective of the Faith for Rights framework, both its 18 commitments and the toolkit that Michael Wiener will zoom on, is precisely to reconcile religions and human rights in their common endeavor to achieve human dignity and equality between different human beings. So these 18 commitments have been conceived and elaborated by a group of independent experts from human rights mechanisms, from the academia, from the civil society. And the idea was to answer the main question: are faith actors, and we use the term faith and faith actors to avoid deliberately religion and religious institutions, not to exclude them, but to go beyond that. So the main question was that are faith actors human rights actors? And if the answer is yes, then they should have responsibilities. And if this is the case, then what are these responsibilities? And once these responsibilities are defined, this is the content of the 18th Faith for Rights commitment, as you will be familiarized with, then how can we empower faith actors to fulfill these, assume these responsibilities? And here comes the role of the toolkit. Now, why is this important? Because it's not only at the international level that these tensions occur, they rather occur at the international level. What happens in Geneva and New York and elsewhere in international and regional organizations is only the political reflections of these tensions. I would add, and at times the political manipulations of these tensions. So how to transform religion from a problem into a solution, and how to identify the convergence zones between different faith traditions and human rights, and how to ensure that we tackle the tensions at their proportion, and we rather enhance the zone of convergence. These are the aims of the 18 commitments, and that's why we will be dealing with them in Zoom on some of them according to your program. So the general background here is that this is a soft law document which treaty bodies that are custodians of the state's obligations that are part of the national legislation. And here comes the link with the judicial authorities at the national level. These are soft law, and then the national enforcement of both hard law and soft law is largely dependent on the willingness and the capacity of the national judicial system to enhance those national implementation through the judicial authorities. Michael will give hopefully more specific examples than the general background where I'm coming from. I will end by saying that we started piloting the toolkit that we will address very recently. So our engagement with you, your engagement with the colleagues who are managed to be in person for this event will be very useful for us as well. We mean it when we say that the toolkit is based on a peer-to-peer learning. Over to you, Michael.
Many thanks, Ibrahim. And precisely on your last point about the question of peer-to-peer learning, the idea is precisely not to have any capacity building or training top-down, which is imposed on, say, faith-based actors or administration of justice, but it's really to genuinely learn from each other and to precisely have any specific questions on how to really reconcile religion and human rights in this context. And just to wrap up and to give you a very concrete application when it comes to incitement to hatred and violence, that's module 7 of the toolkit. And it's very much based on the 6-part threshold test of the Rabat Plan of Action. And that is very much relevant for example, in the regional context. The European Court of Human Rights has used it in its own jurisprudence, and also online. The Meta's Oversight Board has in so far 7 decisions on hate speech on Facebook and Instagram, has explicitly used the Rabat threshold test, which precisely looks into the distinction between hate speech and free speech. And also the United Nations Human Rights Committee, in its general comment on peaceful assembly, is also explicitly referring both to that threshold test and to the Beirut Declaration, precisely to delineate the threshold. When does a specific statement go beyond permissible free speech, and also to avoid that there is any undue limitations of freedom of expression and of other rights. So with that brief introduction, we wish you all the very best, and we're very much looking forward to hearing back from your experiences.